Hello all, it's the 30th of September 2017 and you're here with Dan in Essex, UK. So the time of year may have come where which you're looking back over the gardening year so far and you're counting your successes and maybe even your failures. So, for example, did you have the best crop of marrows that you've ever had and you produced fantastic crops such as this marrow here? Were your butternut squashes absolutely amazing, like this one here? And are you tucking into some homegrown cucumbers? This is variety Market More. Spoke about the merits of this variety before. Absolutely fantastic. And grew them initially as seedlings from seeds, which I got from a bargain place. It was either Savers or Pound Stretcher. And grew most of them down the allotment and had probably about 30 or 40 cucumbers this year. So that's been brilliant. Or have you been looking at certain things that weren't so good? For example, did you lose your brassica crop to cabbage white butterflies and the caterpillars? Did the slugs get your brassicas? Did the birds eat all your strawberries, or did the birds get all your cherries? Now you look at this time of year and you sort of think, yeah, and if you had a bad gardening year, it can be very easy to become despondent. For example, you think, is it really worth it? The time, the effort, the expense, the physical pain maybe from the exercise such as digging? Or do you think, you know what, I'll just go down the supermarket and I'll just buy stuff? I can understand why people might start thinking about this. So what I thought I would do is do a video on why grow your own food, either at the allotment or at home or in someone else's garden or even in a window box. And I thought I'd do this video and just go into some of these points. I've got some pointers in front of me here. I don't normally script my videos. I normally just rattle off what comes out. But today I thought I'd try something different. So the first thing, global food security states that we import 48% of the total food here into the UK. Now, think about this. This is rather scary. Now, of course, I understand that it's totally necessary to import certain foods if you want them. For example, mangoes. You know, it'd be very difficult and costly to grow mangoes here because you would have to simulate their entire environment, and it definitely wouldn't be cost effective with the current level of technology that we have. You can get fruits and foods, veg at different times of year, you know, with regards to different seasons in different parts of the world in order to get food here. I totally understand this, but for example, you go back 30 or 40 years and you think about orchards, that there are far more orchards then than there are now. They seem to be replacing them with housing estates, don't they? But I'm not going to go into that right now. But certainly there's many things we could grow here that we don't grow as much as we could, even if in your backyard you had one dwarf apple tree. So with regards to this, that's one thing that you've got to consider. 48%, I mean, think if that 48% of food didn't get through, you know, the amount of hungry people, and think of the crime and the disorder. Just think what it would be like if we ran out of food in this country. I mean, the majority of people in this country don't know what to starve is. Some do, but the majority don't. And maybe there's people watching this in other countries where food is not so plentiful. So if you can add to this, chime in down below, put some comments on and let us know just what it's like with regards to not having enough food to go round. And with regards to a supply chain that could be affected as well, for example, weather and the transport. If you get a really bad crop in a country where this food that you're eating or importing is growing, then of course it will affect the eventual produce and make it harder to bring that food to the table here. And of course, you have a lot more choice, don't you? If you grow your own food, what goes into it? You can either go organic, as much as is organically possible these days, or you can go more of a conventional route, or you can go in between. It's your choice what goes in, as opposed to, you know, if you're buying food off the shelf, even if it says organic, whatever, or you still don't know, or responsibly, what is it they say? Responsible use of pesticides, etc. Responsible use of chemicals. You don't exactly know what's gone into that. Which, if you've grown it yourself, you've got a far more of a clue as to what has gone into that food. And with regards to transport, so for example, if your allotment is 10 minutes down the road, even in the car, you are going down there, you're getting your food, and you're bringing it home, or to your friends or wherever. But if you're getting some food from the supermarket, which has been grown, let's keep it in the UK. You live in the southeast of the UK here, and you're purchasing something that's been grown in the West Country. So obviously travelled a long way. Fuel, manpower, etc. You guys get the idea. And also exercise. Think of the exercise you can get from an allotment, working at an allotment or working in the garden. You've got to think, nowadays all these gyms springing up everywhere. There seems to be more than ever, and people saying they're going to the gym. All well and good in its own way. I used to train myself. I don't anymore though. But lots of overweight people, lots of unfit people around. Probably go back 100 years when a lot of people grew their own food. People were much fitter, much healthier. I can't see it, to be honest. If you go back 80 years, I just can't see young blokes and young people going to the gym like they do now. I don't think it happened. Maybe there were gyms, but it certainly wasn't. There just wasn't the requirement, because most people's lifestyles then, or many people's lifestyles, certainly more than today, would have kept them fit. And you can grow heritage crops that you probably couldn't buy in the supermarket. Look up this variety of apple, Court Pendu Plat, Courtpendu Plat, I believe, and it's believed to be the oldest known apple in cultivation. I heard about this apple from the Stephen Hayes Fruitwise channel. Check that one out. But certainly can't buy that in the supermarket. And these older varieties, we need to keep them going, because they thrived at a time when pesticides weren't around, and they've got their own natural resistance. And many of the varieties these days of certain things, foods, fruit, veg, have been bred, and they require the use of certain chemicals in order to thrive. And of course, if you can't get hold of these for whatever reason one day, or you don't wish to use them, think about what could happen. And community. In this day of walking smartphone zombies, which seems to be more than ever now, people just staring into space like this, I don't know. But, of course, there are good sides to social media as well. But you've got to think, maybe you'll be down your allotment, and you might even be talking to the person in the plot next to you, even having some conversation, which nowadays can be a hard thing to get when everybody's doing this all the time. But you guys get the idea. You can swap things. If you've got too many tomatoes and you've got too many cucumbers, switch, share, barter, how it used to be. You can support companies such as nurseries by purchasing from them, by visiting them, family-run nurseries that may have been running for hundreds of years. Locally grown, or at least UK grown and bred fruit trees, or roses. Think about rose bushes that have been grafted on site there, not imported from abroad. I know roses aren't technically food. Obviously, rose hips is another subject, but I think you guys get the idea. And you can make your garden, you can make your community beautiful. You can set flowers, with regards to food flowers, of course, the bees pollinate them. They go your marrow flowers, your cucumber flowers. There's so many reasons to grow your own food, and it's important that you don't get despondent and learn from your mistakes. We all make mistakes. You guys saw my brassicas, didn't you? What happened? Yes, they've recovered now, or recovering. They've still got an infestation of caterpillars out there, but mistake making. What's it they say? The person who doesn't make mistakes is a person that will not achieve anything. I'm going to sign out now.